What's up, YouTube Revolution? ZombfectedGaming 349 at your fingertips. So today I would like to do my episode 2 of HBO's The Last of Us review, which is known as Infected. That's what the episode was called. The first episode was called When You're Lost in the Darkness. I did the review for that one last week. So now, of course, with the weekly Last of Us reviews and stuff, we got 7 more left to go. 7 more weeks left to go. So this episode begins off in Jakarta, Indonesia, and it has this scientist. She's eating in a restaurant, and then after the military comes, the military in Indonesia comes to get her, and she wonders if she's in trouble. The military guy says, no, you're not in trouble. But what ends up happening is they said, we need you to take a look at this and stuff, and it's actually the cordyceps. And so eventually they say that humans are getting infected with the cordyceps, and then the scientist says, no, cordyceps cannot live in humans. And then after the military general brings the scientist over to this operating room, and the operating room has this dead lady and stuff, and she is infected with the cordyceps. And so she takes a look at her leg, and she's been bitten on the leg, and she asks, is this a human bite? And then after, what she does is she takes a knife, she cuts open the cut, and notices the fungus on the inside of the cut, which is pretty gnarly. And then eventually what she does is she opens up the mouth and finds the tendrils of the fungus growing out, which was so gnarly. And I gotta say, it was pretty creepy, pretty scary, and so far I'm really liking it, of how scary this is getting. But yeah, Jakarta was actually mentioned at the beginning of the first episode during the flashback in 2003 with, of course, Joel and Sarah and Tommy. Of course, they were eating breakfast, of course, and then on the radio we heard them talk, the radio talking about Jakarta, Indonesia. And Joel, not knowing his geography, ended up thinking that apparently Jakarta is in the Middle East, but it's actually in Indonesia, of course, which is Southeast Asia, I think. So, then after, of course, after all that, with the whole testing and stuff, the scientist lady eventually, goes and has a tea, of course, with the military general. And the military general says, we need a vaccine for this. And so far, what the lady says, there's no vaccines for fungus. Fungus cannot be cured. And the military general says, what are we gonna do then? And then you know what was really scary and really dark? The scientist says, bomb the city, destroy the city, kill everybody to exterminate the infection. And so, yeah, it ends up getting cut off pretty bleak there. I gotta say, I kind of wish I got to see what the bombings looked like in Indonesia, but this episode is only 55 minutes, and so eventually, it just cuts to the credits, and after the credits open, we cut to right after pretty much where the last episode ended off, with Joel and Ellie and Tess leaving the Boston QZ, and then heading out to the that one building and stuff that we saw in the game, the one toppled over. But the difference is that Joel and Ellie and Tess did not pull that all-nighter just like in the video game. They decided to go inside this place to hunker down until morning. And so Ellie, of course, wakes up, and then after, she notices that Tess and Joel were actually watching over Ellie the entire time. And then, of course, Joel is like holding his assault rifle at Ellie and stuff, because he's still very skeptical about her infection. And so after that, eventually when they're all done that, being in there, they eventually leave, and then we got to see the building that's toppled over on the other one, like this. And it's so awesome, guys. The cinematography, the special effects, the budget that HBO put into this, really good job. I gotta say, really, really great. I'm I'm very happy that they've done a very good job with this TV series. And yeah, what's really cool after though is Ellie actually looks at this area where the bombings have happened. She says it looks like the moon. It looks like something from the moon, kind of, because the moon has a bunch of holes in it, of course, too, and because of meteors that hit it and stuff. But Ellie, being Ellie, of course, is what she says. Something that they bring up from the video game and stuff. Since that spores are not in the video game, she says, do you think we'll be fighting some infected, of course, with these spore-like bomb stuff that they throw and stuff? And then Joel and Tess say, nope. And then, of course, and they say these split open heads infected that are blind like bats. And then he just doesn't say anything at all. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't tell Ellie anything about that. But so eventually they get to this hotel looking place, and it's all flooded. And the cool part is we see ducks actually swimming in there, and then we also see a frog, of course, too. But we hear this piano theme playing. It sounds like, I actually originally thought it was a soundtrack playing, like this eerie soundtrack. But it was actually a frog hopping on a piano, which was really cool. It's nice that they added that in there. Really, really awesome stuff. But what's really funny too is that Ellie actually walks up to this one desk, and then she rings this bell, and then she starts like pretending to act out what it was like at this hotel, what it's like when they want to get a hotel room or something and stuff, and then after Joel's like, you're a weird kid, and then after Ellie mocks Joel going, you're a weird kid, which is so funny. It's actually really, really well done, a really well done episode and stuff so far. I like Ellie's humor. Ellie's humor is really good. Bella Ramsey is doing a really, 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 really good job of sounding like Ashley Johnson's Ellie from the video game. Really great stuff. And so eventually when they make their way out of the hotel, of course, like the video game and stuff, Ellie, of course, wants to, go through this little small, like, area and stuff. She says she's small enough, but no. Joel sends Tess. And so in the video games, I noticed they do this a lot with Naughty Dog video games, and extremely also with Uncharted as well. They do this thing where they grab onto the leg, you lift somebody up, and then you lift them up into an area. And so Joel lifts Tess up into there, and then, eventually we get to see Ellie, of course, playing with this knife, throwing it up, and then after catching it on the other side of the not the blade part, of course, catching it on the handle, and she's good at it. And so Joel is like, where did you learn that? And she's like, the circus. And then Joel is just like, Joel is like really annoyed. And so far, Pedro Pascal is doing a really good job of acting like Joel, because Joel was not very big fan of Ellie at all. He doesn't care about Ellie. He's like, I don't care. I don't like this little girl. She's really annoying. Stuff like that. Joel is not humorous. He is very, very serious guy. Very big difference compared to when we saw Joel in the first episode during the outbreak on Outbreak Day with him and his daughter Sarah. He was jokative and stuff. I found that he was more funnier in that part when he was like, when Sarah gives Joel the watch and stuff, he's like, I don't hear anything. And he goes, ha ha ha. And then she says, you're lame and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, see, that's the thing with Joel. He was kind of funny, but eventually all that humor went away, of course, because obviously when he lost his daughter, his world was ripped away from him, and he became a completely different person, without much remorse, pretty much. He became a very cold guy, and his job's a smuggler, of course, and he probably doesn't really like his job. He does so much stuff to, throughout those 20 years to survive. And I'm sure living in a world like that, you're not going to be a happy man at all. But anyways, so the next part is they eventually make it to this roof area. And so they look out, and there's tons of infected on the ground. Tons of infected, like a feasting ground and stuff. That we do not see in the video game. We do not see like a feasting ground of a bunch of infected all gathered up together and eating together and stuff. That's not something we don't really see in the game. But it's really, really, really cool how they have that, because it's, to me, it actually gave me major Days Gone vibes. Major Days Gone vibes. In a way, this almost feels like not just an adaptation of The Last of Us, but it also feels like slightly like it's paying homage to Days Gone, because in Days Gone, the Freakers, they they all gather in these packs and stuff, the hordes, and then they have these feeding grounds and stuff. It just makes me wonder: do the infected in the Last of Us HBO TV series, do they migrate and stuff when it comes to the weather patterns? Because in Days Gone, the Freakers, they migrate certain places when it comes to the weather patterns. And so, eventually they can't go that way, of course. The Joel, Ellie, and Tess, they can't go that way. And so they make it to the War of Independence Museum, the American Revolutionary War Museum, just like in the video game. And Joel, of course, has to check if one of the funguses is actually bone dry. And so it's bone dry, of course. It means that they're mostly all dead on the inside. But when they make it inside there are some dead bodies, and they are fresh dead bodies. And it's pretty scary, actually, stuff that they're seeing. And then eventually Ellie actually steps on something, like one of the vines, of course, one of the tendrils, and it probably spooked maybe a clicker in there. And so eventually we actually get to hear and see one of the clickers, and the whole fight scene with the clicker was really well done. So creepy, guys. Super, very creepy. I actually enjoyed this part a lot. This part is really good. Very scary stuff. And so, what's really cool too is eventually, when Joel gets away from one of the clickers, but he doesn't kill it, of course, just yet. Joel is loading his gun. Joel looks around the corner. The clicker is right here. Joel's right here. He looks around the corner. He takes his flashlight. He flashes it right in the clicker's face. The clicker does not really react to it because the clickers are blind, and they stuck very, very, very well to the video game, because in the video game, you really do not have to worry about flashing your flashlight at a clicker and stuff, or really any of the infected. What kind of doesn't make sense much to me, though, in the video game is, since that the infected runners and the stalkers, they can see, and you're flashing the flashlight, they should at least be able to see. The clickers doesn't matter, of course, because they can't see. That's their weakness, of course, which is good, I gotta say. But they're clicking. They use echolocation to find their prey. And so what's really cool, too, is that the clickers are actually kind of faster in the TV show. And but eventually when they make it out of the museum, this is closer to the end of the episode. And so they make it to the Capitol building, but the difference is we see that all these fireflies, they're all killed, but not this time by the military. They're killed by infected, like tons of infected. So they swapped out the federal military from ambushing that place for a bunch of infected that are eventually going to ambush it. And just like in the video game, of course, Tess reveals that she's been bitten on the neck area in the museum, of course, just like in the video game. And it's very, very well done. They've done the exact same thing. I gotta say, I kind of wished for Tess to live on longer, but the episode is still really, really good. Very much a shame to see Tess go. Very sad, but her death in the TV show was done so much better, of course. And so what she wants to do, she wants to sacrifice herself. So there's a bunch of grenades and all that kind of stuff that the fireflies have, and but speaking of this first, I forgot to say this, but since that Joel doesn't really care about Ellie, he wants to bring Ellie back to the quarantine zone, the Boston QZ. And so Joel's like, you know what, I'm gonna take her back, and basically Tess is like, no, don't take her back. You gotta do this mission. You gotta do this. This girl is immune. I am already feeling worse as it is. She has a 3 weeks old bite, and so this is the catalyst to bringing Joel and Ellie together. So it makes sense with Tess dying and stuff. So this is gonna actually the real story begins next week actually with Joe and Ellie. Their bond is probably gonna get stronger and stronger and stronger over time. But anyways, after that, Joe and Ellie leave, of course, so Tess can buy them some time. And so Tess, she puts all the gasoline on the ground. She throws all the grenades on the ground. And so what she does is, as she waits all the infected, as the infected all come in, the infected notice her eventually. It's a stalker that notices her. And this part was disgusting, but awesome at the same time. One of the stalkers, of course, since that Tess knows that she's gonna die, she's not gonna run away. So obviously, if she was to run away, the stalker would be like probably be pretty pissed off at her, and so the stalker would probably just try to like rip her to shreds. But instead, the stalker decides to give her a kiss and give her the tendrils by putting it in her mouth. And so she's trying to light up this lighter and stuff. She's trying to light the lighter. It's really hard for her to light the lighter, but eventually she lights up the lighter, drops it on the ground, boom! She blows up the entire horde along with her. So in a way, kind of like what Rick Grimes did on The Walking Dead on his final episode. But instead, obviously, Rick doesn't die. But in The Last of Us, Tess sacrifices herself. And so when Tess sacrificed herself, all the horde died, of course. And yeah, that was a cool death. But personally, let's say if I was Tess, I wouldn't have let that freaking stalker do that to me. What I would have done is I would have dumped everything on the ground, and what I would have done is I would have cooked the grenade, pulled the pin, of course, obviously, and let the horde run up towards me, and then I would have rammed right into them and let everything blow up along with me. That's what I would have done, because that would have been disgusting. Especially like dying like that and stuff, like the last second of your life. You have these disgusting tendrils going down your throat and that crap like that. That's pretty disgusting, guys. But anyways, I'm gonna give that episode a 10 out of 10. That was the entire episode. It left off on the cliffhanger like that, and Joel and Ellie continue on their adventure. And so yeah, 10 out of 10, guys. We'll see you guys next week, of course, with episode 3, which is going to have Bill and Frank in it. It's apparently supposed to be a longer episode. The recent episode was a short episode. It was pretty easy, explanatory type episode to do. That's why I'm able to go in without a script and stuff. What I did last week and stuff, I had to watch the episode over and over and over again 5 times and stuff, just to keep making sure that I got everything right. And I wrote everything down to make sure that I was talking about the episode properly and stuff to get everything well done. But it's gonna be up to 85 minutes long. This recent episode was 55 minutes, I believe, but so the next one is gonna be 85. It's gonna be a longer episode, kind of like the first episode. So that's gonna be probably a really, really good one. I'm probably gonna watch it a ton. So maybe it might be a little bit later again, just like last week. Last week it took me a while, of course, to get it out, but yeah. If you're a huge fan of The Last of Us, both video game and TV show now, of course, and the post-apocalyptic genre in general, like, of course, with The Walking Dead, I do video games such as Dying Light, tons of that stuff. You guys should consider subscribing to the channel and ding that bell icon really hard so I can always stay within fast reach of your fingertips when new uploads arrive. ZombfectedGaming 349, over and out. Zombfect.